meeting on the land of the Whadjuk Noongar people. This land is stolen land and it needs to be returned. We stand steadfast in our support for elders past, present and emerging.
Well, I don't think the road is to some pure enlightened woke capital city greenies at this time.
I want to see house prices go up.
Woke capital city greenies.
I don't negotiate with the Greens.
Make Australia
Woke capital city greenies.
again.
Everyone's propaganda.
Hey everyone, welcome to Left in the West. You're joined by three comrades from Socialist Alliance. I'll start off. My name's Josh, and I'm passionate about Palestine, women and queers' rights, but I'm also a huge nerd, and so I will read any theory text you put at me, given the time in my day. Love Lenin, love Marx. And keen to chat about some socialisms with my comrades. Why don't you go next, Ned?
I'm Ned. I'm the resident art fag. Just here to hold it down for the critical theory babes out there. Just a bit of queer theory,
Yes.
Just discussion of vibes, and maybe I learned about some Marxism at uni, I think, so maybe you guys can tell me about that.
Yes, and finally we've got Blair.
Hello, my name's Blair Vidak. I'm an activist and a member of Socialist Alliance. I've been an activist for some time now. I've done a lot of things, seen a lot of things, and met a lot of people. Activism with Socialist Alliance is fucking amazing. It's a really cool party to be a member of. I encourage you to look us up and find out. I've read a lot as well. I've also written a lot and recorded a lot. Not that people find it interesting or want to watch it, but
comrade, yeah.
Not yet, that's right, not yet.
Just waiting for that big break.
But yeah, we're waiting for that big break, that's right. But I do it anyway. It's that impulse that I have to do this. I care so deeply about truth and justice. You have to do it. I have to do it.
I think there was Marx did say one thing about labour and how he likened labour that you do for fun to a silkworm spinning silk. It just does it because it has to and it can. And I feel like when you're doing a passion project, you're like, this is not going to go anywhere. No, it's just you're just the silkworm spinning silk.
Absolutely, yeah.
There is a precedent for that.
No, definitely. While we were fixing your car before, Ned.
we got here at specified time, and then half an hour later, we finally managed to put the headlight back in the car after trying pretty much every possible.
No, we did it.
Solution.
Sorted.
Blair's my hero.
Blair is literally the hero.
He's the reason I'm getting home safe tonight.
Yeah.
But Marx talks about species being, there was this big criticism that a lot of liberal academics used to make when I was at uni, and that is that, labour. Humans do more than just labour.
Right.
And the sense in which Marx means labour is so much broader.
Yeah.
And it
It's not just
encompasses
going to your job.
artwork. It's not just, splitting rocks in the hot sun, this sort of thing. That's not what labour is.
Yeah, it's like toil, isn't it? It feels different.
Yeah.
Oh no! I see this all the time. So my job, I work in a hot glass studio down south, and a lot of the work I do is running, tourism for people, working people on their holidays. Maybe they've saved up a bit of money. They want to do something different with their family, their kids. People come from Singapore too, And you see these people who's, I imagine not all of them, but just got jobs that don't really inspire them much. Some people
absolutely.
today that one of them works in the mines. He's trying to start up his barbershop because he's that's his exit strategy. A lot of people like that, and this is their time off, and you just see them doing something with their hands, it's front of the flame, out of their day to day, and you just get this glimpse of a world where people's labour was things that they felt joyful about, that excited them, they could do with their family, rather than this kind of alienated, go work for a boss.
Yeah, that's exactly, I think that's what people are afraid of, or that can't click with, is alienated labour. And I think because we become so entrenched in this mode of production, all our labour feels like alienated labour. And so there is that connection to pride in your work, and for most people that's kind of just a fantasy.
It's rare. Yeah, I'd say for the vast majority of people that it appears as a fantasy, the idea that what you do to make a living would be something that you would do, you know, unpaid because you love it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's 3 different words and they capture each like a smaller and more particular piece of the analysis. And one is you've got labour at the top, right? That's pretty much all human activity directed outside ourselves to the world. And then you have work. And work is by definition alienated labour. You know, you're driving. Well, no, actually, no. Work is like an important task that needs to be done. And then finally, you have jobs. Job is alienated labour. You know.
Yeah.
So
it is a kind of annoying how we use them interchangeably, but you're right. They actually have very different connotations. And if you wanted to put some kind of meaning to them, like they mean totally different things.
Yeah, and they overlap a little bit, and they're very specific in some cases. Yeah.
So if I like go out and like picking an outfit for a night out, like going op shopping, that's labour. But then
Creative labour, yeah.
But then for like the person volunteering the op shop, that's work.
That's a job.
That's a job.
It's a job.
Yeah.
And whereas work would be like doing, say, gardening, but not getting paid. Or, yeah.
Oh man, I hate gardening. I have very mixed feeling about gardening. I like doing it while I'm doing it, and it's one of those things that you just can't get yourself started to doing. And also, you have to stop at some point, and there's always more to do. And like, it's really hard to disconnect from that. Like, it's alright, I'll come back to it later.
I just don't like getting my hands dirty, you know. Same reason I don't like pottery or painting. Yeah, I mean, I love them. Like, I have enjoyed doing all those things, but, you know, just get shitty clothes and shoes, hands. This is why I like glass blowing. It's just clean.
Very true.
Clean.
Very true.
I mean, a bit of shit on the clothes, what's the word, humbles a person.
Yeah.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do it. Let's
Yeah.
talk about Venezuela. Who wants to lead us into this?
Well,
happening?
something I discovered about Venezuela is that it means Little Venice.
Really?
Yeah.
You know what? I should have seen it coming. I think, like, I have heard that it derives from Venice, but like it's like New Zealand is like
Because you got abuela, which is like a little aunt or something, or little grandmother. So you'd have abuela on the end. That'd be like the diminutive form, right? Yeah.
I went on this whole
awesome.
search engine deep dive recently because I was like, okay, so Venezuela means Little Venice. Does this mean when like a Spanish speaker hears Venezuela, it sounds like someone saying Little Venice, like, you know, does it sound odd?
I have a fear on that. I think it would probably be lexicalized to the point where you'd still kind of have to, like, they'd notice, obviously, but you wouldn't mistake it for Little Venice. You'd be like, Venezuela, the country, I'm aware of this.
And this is what I discovered is that apparently to like little kids when they're first learning language, they're like, that means
yeah,
but apparently to adults it doesn't even it just goes straight under, like
it's
it
the
just sounds
ossification
totally
of
That is a proper noun.
But no, let's be real, this is not what we're talking about.
The etymology, yes.
No.
We need the etymology of Venezuela.
So who Blair, would you like to just break down for any
Well, before we start, I think it's very important to note that Trump was doing the right thing by kicking out an evil dictator who, and just the fact that he wanted the oil is purely coincidental.
I saw the press conference he did where they're talking about USA is the most oil in the world. No, they fucking don't.
They have the most oil.
Oil in the world. I think they've got 53 million barrels a year. Venezuela has so much oil.
I thought Venezuela had the most.
Venezuela definitely has shit tons of oil.
Yeah.
And it's been a process of economic dependency, like imperialist dependency for them, and underdevelopment. And I think that's the reason why they've kind of a little bit failed with their socialism, if you know what I mean. They haven't been able to break out of this giant production chain of petrochemicals.
Yeah, right.
But that's not to say I want to shit on Venezuela. Like me and Hugo Chavez, not that I was, aware of him at the time, but having spent a lot of time in the party and meeting a lot of people who have a lot of respect for Chavismo, you can really see how incredibly inspiring he is. And nothing will dim that light for me. Even if Maduro is the Diet Coke of Chavez.
Diet Coke.
If you want to say that.
Yeah,
I'm still with Maduro on this one. I just remember, in the build-up to it seems like it's also clear now. Of course, they were going to do it to him. There was this big, circus act going on inside Venezuela as well. I'm not trying to say that's a bad thing, but they were trying to. They kind of knew some of the pressure was building up, and I watched him dance. I watched Maduro dance.
Right.
And you compare that to like a lot of the Anglos.
What do you mean by dance in this case?
Like literally dance on the stage, like you know, we're going to
letting loose.
Yeah, just letting loose and dancing, like. And I was like, the man can dance.
I thought you meant like he was trying to dance around something like a dance.
No, he was actually dancing to like beautiful music on this stage with a lot of his political supporters and stuff. And I was like, what has Trump got compared to this? Like basically zombie lizard people. You know what I mean? Like it looked like a wholesome, like really like. There's something like life-giving about Chavismo, you know, to me, emotionally at least. And there's something that's there that is inspirational about socialism that capitalism just doesn't have.
I think it's just the root of all kind of anti-imperial movements, right? It's like, I was listening to a YouTube clip the other day, and it was kind of like, you can talk about queer rights, women's rights in all these countries, and it almost becomes a tool of oppression to complain about queer rights in countries, when the primary contradiction in that company is, by a long shot, the colonialism and imperialism. Like, until you sort that out, unless people have any kind of self-determination, they can't work these things out for themselves because they're just trying to survive.
And whenever in history have queer people been liberated by some fucking imperialist power invading their country? Like,
yeah, I don't think that happens, right?
Does that happen? Please, like, if someone knows of an instance of like queers being liberated, I mean, same thing in fucking Palestine, right? Like,
yeah,
like one. I remember when it first started. Every time, like, you talk to some fucking Zionist on, like, the internet, they'd be like, oh, if you were in Palestine, they'd throw you off a rooftop. It's like, fuck off, man. Like, I don't want to hear about your fantasies,
that also didn't happen, so that's...
Yeah, of course, it's a fantasy, but the point is, like, actually... in that instance, with the beginning of the genocide in Palestine, there was this narrative that the Zionist right were pushing, or even the fucking Zionist liberal centre were pushing, of like, Hamas are conservative, like they're oppressing queer people.
The whole Islamic jihad.
As if the reason that this imperialist exercise happening has anything to do with liberating queer people. And I'd say that's true across the board when you have an imperialist intervention in a sovereign country and they start serving up queer rights as some sort of justification. It's fucking offensive. It's fucking absolutely. So offensive, because they don't give a fuck about us the rest of the time.
No,
you know what I mean?
No, that's right. It only comes up when there's some sort of resources deal.
Yeah.
or leader to put in place.
Yeah.
And I think, what has been really interesting is that usually the US, I mean, they can't hide it that much. Like with Iraq, I think it became pretty clear that they're after the oil for most people. Like that was pretty obvious. I wasn't around that much then, but like that's the story I've heard. But like with Venezuela, Trump is just this guy that just says the quiet part out loud, so to speak.
I mean, you got to give it to him, hey? Like the fucking neocons, the fucking Obamas, they all this shit. They dress
so
it up
likable.
in so many layers of like liberal internationalism to do
Kamala
the exact
Harris,
same shit.
Kamala Harris in her campaign was like that. She tried to do both sides. It was like. Israel has the right to defend itself, and the next sentence was, we need, I think it was even sovereignty or self-determination for Palestinian people. It's like, you can't have both of those things. Like, she's just trying to, like, both those sound great. They're great sound bites, but like, you can't pursue both of those policies simultaneously.
And
Trump's just like, we're going to take the oil. Yep, just letting you know that.
As much as I fucking hate these cunts, it is refreshing that they say the quiet part out loud. Mask off. At least we fucking can be clear about what we're dealing with.
Well, it's actually kind of funny. In the last pod that Blair and I did, you said something about I just need to move on from liberalism, even if fascism is what we get. Remember that?
I remember that.
No, exactly. We have to be leaving this neoliberal era. I was actually thinking something really similar the other day, and that's it. Like,
oh, we're gonna get so cancelled for this one.
I was thinking about.
Don't take it out of context. We don't want fascism for its own sake. Okay.
Do not cut.
There's going to be a nuance coming up real soon.
The new one's coming Thursday. I was thinking about Whitlam, and when I was studying Whitlam in high school and university, there was this big problem that a lot of the lecturers wouldn't really recognise, and that is that we seem to be blaming Whitlam for his own coup. You know what I mean? Well, if he kind of managed the country a bit better and didn't do that, weird deal with Kamlani when he couldn't pass the supply bill, then he kind of deserved it. And that's ideology.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
it's a super weird way of looking at the world, isn't it?
It's a super weird way of looking at the world, and I'm kind of like glad that we've gotten past that now. And now that the dossier has been released about Whitlam, I guess we're really off topic now. But now that the Whitlam
It's displacement of a popular leader by fucking US imperialism.
Yeah,
Like,
I can see some links with Gaddafi here, which is them like parading around Libya afterwards, and look at the place as a basket case.
That's a failed fucking state, isn't it?
I promise you, the next failed state is Venezuela. Hey.
Yeah.
Promise you. What happened in Iraq was a state of lawlessness, which then required the YPJ to go in and clean it up after them.
And
you know what I mean? That's exactly what's going to happen next. What happens every time you coup a leader and try and, military junta your way out into democracy and get the oil? It's complete lawlessness. And in fact, it's already started. No one knows who's in charge.
I have another interesting take. I'd like to hear what you think about, the America's reasons for, regime change in Venezuela, is that there's also this meta context of them recognizing that they really want this sort of like huge power fight with China, and recognizing now they're in no place to win it, so they're trying to assert their power in Latin America and firm up their bases and make sure they're in control of what. If you look at their recent strategy documents, it's like they want to be in control of critical supply chains. They want to make sure that that these sort of foreign actors aren't intervening in the countries. And it sort of made sense to me that it's not just about getting them oil, although that's part of it. That to have control of that oil resource, if they want a big war, that's super important. But also to kind of really like assert dominance and discipline the rest of Latin America. So look at like Colombia, Brazil have both got left-wing leaders to kind of go, this is what happens if you fuck with us. That makes sense to me. Cuba's just across the the pond from Venezuela. Who knows what's going to happen there? Like,
I agree with that. I totally agree with that. It's about punching down to make sure you can, have an arm up over China.
Yeah, it's like basically. You fucking go into the playground, big bully, just like beat up one of the kids so the rest of them are scared of you. Like, this is what America does. Like,
reminds me almost of that Robot Chicken section, where they had Hitler in the classroom, little Hitler, and he was just stealing everyone's desks. It's the same fucking thing.
Stealing everyone's desks.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, but I also want Poland's desk, this sort of stuff. And it's the same thing with fucking Trump. It's about how many shiny little rocks you can have in your pocket before you die. None of this conquest stuff makes any sense to me.
And also, like, it does become a, what do you call it? It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. There's a more Marxist word for it. When you have to do something, it's oh damn it, I almost had it. Market imperative. That's the word. Got there in the end. To maintain your own status as this like enormous
power of the market compels you.
Yeah, like literally, like just like how quote unquote world markets have laws that have to be followed for infinite growth or whatever. So too does continuously invading and destabilizing not even just your biggest allies like China, but just anyone like that. Like they can't stop doing that. I think I
completely agree with you. And I was just listening to this David Graeber video. Capitalists don't matter. We like to think that Donald Trump has agency. No, absolutely not. The whole system is acting through that person.
That's a really important point. There's someone very close to me who often, is a bit lived out, comes out going, oh, Trump this, Trump that, Trump this, but it's very rarely is it any kind of deep analysis or criticism of the American state or the American project and it's interlinked with capital. It's always just Trump's the fucking problem. It's
just
Trump.
The idea
It's the same thing as you see fucking liberal Zionists doing with Netanyahu. They're like, Israel's not the problem, it's Netanyahu. It's like, no, that person's just a figurehead, almost like a bubbly effervescence at the front. And sure, maybe they have some clout, they had some critical decision making, but at the end of the day, if they're not performing a role that is suitable to
They get replaced.
the apparatus of capital, they get replaced.
That's right.
And it's not about like the great man theory of history. Is I think as social creatures, it's kind of hard to work against that. Like we just kind of see people as agents because that's kind of how we've evolved to think about things.
Yeah,
and yet. Yeah, in this modern world, it's the system that is the agent, and we can't really conceive of that. So
well, yeah, I mean, this is fucking going way out on a limb, but like, could we say that like, the evolution of the modern like media spectacle of politics is actually like evolution? It's survival of the fittest, and politicians that have, or media spectacles that have kind of spoken to people in that very like the way you're saying, where it's like. It feels like there's a person that represents politics that maybe that sort of front face of the system has kind of evolved to sort of fit what's going to make people feel there's a personage there. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
It's a bit of a long bow. Yeah.
No, I think it's actually short-circuiting a lot of ideology, and ultimately it makes power more naked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think the good thing is that at least we know what we're dealing with, which we find refreshing because neoliberalism was so full of garbage ideologically.
So do you mean Trumpism is, or
Trump is
like what? Like you said, it's short-circuiting ideology. I was just clarifying.
So what I mean to say is there's very little like subtext with Trump, right?
Yeah.
And neoliberalism was almost always about subtext.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the negative thing about Trump, at least, is that the power is more naked. And Maduro is an example of that. Before there would have been all these weird justifications about, as you said, like cosmopolitan liberalism and blah, blah, blah. No, they literally said he's a dictator. We're going to remove whoever we like. We're going to take whatever oil we like. And which we find immediately refreshing. But the problem is now power has become more naked. The contradiction is sharper.
And then it means that they're more comfortable with it because they don't have to hide. Like they have so much power that this kind of thing is not a threat.
At the moment.
Well, obviously,
however,
we would quite like them to be quaking in their fucking boots.
Yeah.
But we have to get there first.
Well, live by the sword, die by the sword. Which territory do you want to fight on? Do you want to fight on the territory of love, care, and democracy, or do you want to fight on the territory of Machiavellianism? Well, I know what Trump wants to fight on.
I do find myself wondering. I thought about it a bit today with this new era of just like the American administration, just like blatantly just throwing international law out the window, not even pretending to care about it, doing what they want, starting new wars. I wonder, what the effect will ultimately be on the American working class if there will be a point of this is too much, we do not want more war, if that will actually feed into, an anti-war left there. I mean, I'd love to see it. I don't know enough about America to say that's going to happen, but one does wonder if this kind of blatant imperialist conquest, if everyday American people at some point are going to go fuck this. I don't know. Maybe they benefit too much from to really
I think there definitely is a benefit, and also sorry, I lost my train of thought there.
Here you go. Here it is.
Oh shit! Just plug that train back in.
Yeah, 606.
We were talking about American. Yeah. So I think the reason that it's harder to be optimistic about that is because Trump is so powerful, because his this is why it's half decent argument to call Trump's movement fascism or proto-fascism or something like that, because it's not just a military dictatorship, or it's not just a top-down thing. It has working class or people, or whatever you want to call it, mass mobilization on the ground of people who are diehard supporters that believe everything he says, and there's all these apparatus comes with the QAnon, all this stuff kind of reinforces the position, and I think a lot of people, like you said, would just be why are we starting so many wars? This is terrible. But because his base is so large and so active and so has so much influence, that is just the largest barrier. I think is just not having a counterbalance of a progressive working class movement, but also just the fact that the Trump supporter base is so strong and so organized that it's actually a very different situation to just passive members of a state. They've actually chosen a side.
Yeah. I mean, I certainly, I tune into a few different American leftists, and you don't hear like sort of mountains of optimism coming across. But I think it's there. I think there's good people there, and there is definitely at least seeds of something really interesting
I think
that could happen there.
Being in the imperial core is probably like, I was going to say one of the hardest things. I think that's probably a little bit of a first world problem. I'm rather going to sell-head on that. Like, I think being bombed is probably worse. So I'm not going to say it's hard, but I mean, like, in terms of like the traction to gain in a revolutionary movement, being in the imperial core is very difficult because you are in the heart of the Death Star, as glorious leader Sam Wainwright often likes to call it, is like being in the west of Australia. Here we are, like, this is where all the natural resources.
I was going to say the same problem we got here, right? As leftists, is that so many people, not just in WA, just in Australia as well, do benefit so much from the situation of imperialism. So it's a bit more work to get
Do you know
across
how
the
many
line.
people actually work in the mines? The mines make so much money. I think only about 33,000 people work in the mining industry.
Yeah.
It's absolutely fucking tiny.
Is that true?
Very small.
Absolutely tiny. So the amount of wealth that is being stolen from us compared
Because it's
to the
all
amount of
been
people
commodified.
helping, it's all been commodified. It's insane. We could be twice as rich tomorrow if we wanted to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what socialism is.
Yeah.
And I think going
Are
back
you
to
proposing we should nationalise the mines and banks?
Yes, absolutely. When is that not going to happen? No, I think it's important to think in terms of opposites. I absolutely vibe with what you're saying, Comrade Ned. It's important to say to look at where the opposite trends are going to start coming. Everything that has a beginning has an end. Trumpism had a beginning, therefore Trumpism will have an end. I think it's important to also, engage in speculation and prediction. Because otherwise, how are you going to engage your imagination and want to fight for a future? If you look at the number of people who actually voted for Trump, I think it was something under 25% of the population actually awarded that man total power. Presidential power. So it's about having a very well coordinated voting bloc to make sure you can run that gerrymander. So ultimately the whole thing is bullshit all the way down. And that's why I do believe, that's why I believe what you said.
We wouldn't be here doing what we're doing if we didn't believe in, the working class of every nation, including Australia, including America. There'd be no point in us being here being fucking commies, like doing a podcast, making newspapers, going to rallies.
It's a lot of work being a commie. I could be at home with my fam right now.
Exactly. I could be fucking driving trucks up in Karratha. I mean, if you're driving trucks up from Karratha and listening to this podcast, you absolutely can join Socialist Alliance. We'd love to have you.
Yeah, totally. Join TWU. Help us take over that.
Please. We have a few CMFU members in the organisation.
Yes.
Great comrades.
Oh,
I've got one down in
super.
Mars, in fact.
I'm a CPSU member, actually. Yeah, I work for the public service, so I'm a CPSU member. Yeah, I'm really happy with what happened with Giselle Hanna over East. The Victorian branch of the CPSU has now got activists running.
Yeah.
That's incredible. How cool is that?
Yeah.
Very cool.
I just started following her recently. She seems like a really interesting cat.
I met them at the last Eco-Socialism conference. The stories are all true. Incredible activist here. Very powerful. Very, very cool.
Excellent.
That's what I want to see over in the US too. News, analysis, world events and culture. You owe it to yourself to read Green Left. It started as Direct Action in 1991 or 1992, either of those 2 years. And my favourite part of the Green Left paper is the photo report. You can see photos from all over the country, all different types of rallies. I think the Green Left Weekly photo report is second to none. I was going to do the
Fake
golden
intro reel.
I was going to do the golden voice, but Green Left Weekly.
I feel like if I do one,
We can workshop the voice.
if I
Is
do
this
one, it's
too
going to
much?
be me talking about how after I've finished with them, they go in the studio packing room and I use them to pack my customers' orders with.
Oh, nice.
So that was hoping they might just capture a glimpse of curiosity as I'm packing their glass. Yeah.
That's the amazing thing about the paper. We were talking about the conference readings. We were talking about the conference reading schedule that comrades have been doing, and how Lenin puts a real premium on the party paper.
Yeah.
I think we get a lot of Lenin's lessons correct with Green Left. We've really cohered, especially in Bulu and in the West. We're going from strength to strength. It's really, really good. We've got comrades taking photos, writing articles, shit's kicking off. If you want to find out, read Green Left.
Yeah, and I think that what I've observed is there's an audience for Green Left that goes well beyond our party activists. There's people who they haven't found themselves the desire to really commit to being in a party and participating in this kind of activism, but you can see how much they value having a source of information, of coverage, of analysis that is coming from the grassroots, coming from activists, that is coming from the left, from like a very strong left-wing position. And I think that I see activists in my community who really value that, whether or not they want to join Socialist Alliance. That's what I've observed.
No, definitely. You want the whole like onion scenario. Like I'm not the kind of person, even though I am a vanguardist and a Leninist, I wouldn't go so far as to say that there's an inside and an outside of the party. There's probably variations or gradations between that of people who are in our affinity, actually are party members, people we respect that are in other organisations that we may work with even though they don't have to join us, this sort of stuff. I think our culture of party organisation is far less stressful and way more inclusive.
Yeah, and there's those comrades that get a call up every 3 years to say thanks for your membership. We'd love it if you turned up to a meeting. Don't worry, but can you just help us get our electoral registration again, please?
No, that's a good point. We should talk about that.
We should talk about that.
Socialist Alliance is trying to get registered for the at the state level as a political party so we can run the elections.
That'd be sick.
And last I heard, we're over two-thirds. Yeah.
The final stretch.
I'm not gonna say exact numbers. I got given some exact numbers. Wink, wink. And it's going well.
You make the audience hungry for those numbers.
Yeah. Well, come talk to me in person. I'll deny everything.
Well, how about this?
We're going to get there. We're going to get over the line.
If you can show Blair that you've made those numbers higher, he'll tell you.
Exactly. Be the number you want to see.
Be the number Blair wants to see. Yeah. Maybe it's a prime number. I like 13, 11. Do you guys ever count prime numbers? It's just a weird thing.
Please, I beg of you, do not get me started on prime numbers.
We want to keep our listeners.
My wedding day is on the 31st, and 30, 31 is a super good prime number.
Fuck yeah.
It's also a really good tuning system for microtonality. Okay, I'm stopping.
No, that's great. That's awesome. I count primes until I go to sleep. It's a really cool way of doing it. But anyway, moving from Green Left into more socialist organizational culture, we've got a group of satellite organizations around us. Some are run by our members, some are just participants. We've got Jews for Palestine, Queer Liberation Bulu, and the Stop AUKUS campaign.
Now, hold up a minute. Jews for Palestine? Isn't that an oxymoron, Blair?
Some might take it that way, but there's a difference between Judaism and Zionism. These things have two independent histories, would you believe it or not?
It's almost as if that is not what they want you to know. This is prime information that will break your mind apart every time you hear something on the news. Saying that criticism of Israel is tantamount to anti-Semitism. It's like, maybe not.
No, exactly.
I just want to say, I think I respect our listeners' intelligence. They already know this. They know this. It's actually, I think most people know this. I think the only people that you'll hear equating Judaism with Zionism are literal functionaries of the Israeli projects and their allies in our government and media apparatus. I think the vast majority of people know this difference, but we're just bombarded with the equivalence constantly. It's not coming from below, it's absolutely coming from the top, this false equivalence.
I think there's a bit of theory.
Thank you, Ned, for respecting our listeners' intelligence.
Someone's got to do it.
Someone's got to not do it, and that's me.
I don't got no tickets. There's actually a bit of theory. I read this one book called The Dominant Ideology Thesis, and it says that ideology is not something that working class actually believes. It's something they just comport themselves to and kind of just deal with because they don't have any other way of getting around it.
I've heard a version of this, and Mark Fisher talks about it in one of his books. I think he summons Zizek, I believe. I can't remember the exact passage. I think it's in Capitalist Realism.
I think there's a very
It's capitalist realism. It's capitalist realism.
Yeah, and he talks about the story of the emperor with no clothes, and
Yes.
it's when they're talking about the big other, and you know the big other is this thing that you have to, like you say, like comply with. You know, the emperor's he's fully clothed, absolutely, absolutely, we agree, Israel's
But I
great. It's because people are rightfully scared of what's going to happen to them if they step out of line. And it's only when you cross a threshold of either the spectacle becoming fucking absurd enough.
So I was say that's what happens in the actual story,
Yeah.
right? Everyone laughs at him, and he's forced to accept that, like, okay, maybe I'm not wearing any clothes.
Yeah, exactly. And this is this moment that socialists work towards, is with this moment, this mass, just like everyone just saying the quiet part out loud and going, no, the emperor's fucking naked. And I think, like you're saying, this is a phenomenon of our world, is in so many situations in the workplace, gender discrimination, racism, so many situations where people will toe the line, they'll be silent or even, actively comply. And it's actually this moment of just like mass unmasking, or not so much unmasking as mass
Awakening.
Not awakening, because people already know it's people coming to trust their own judgment and feel confident to say what they think and say it to each other. It's not that people are sleeping; it's that they are in a state of intimidation, of fear of what will happen if they step out of line.
No, definitely, completely agree. I was just about to say something. I can't wait.
Well, look how many people.
Hegel, that's straight up dialectics.
Yeah.
So I hate to repeat stories like this. Not that many people would have heard this story, but there's a book written by Friedrich Hegel. It's called The Phenomenology of Spirit. It's an amazing book. I'd love to run a course on it one day. But
You read the whole thing?
Yeah, I've written on it too. It's a really cool book.
We're getting a big ups from our producer right now, just FYI. Big ups for phenomenology of spirit.
Talking about is straight up dialectics. You go from consciousness with its various layers, and then you go to self-consciousness. And self-consciousness is like a grasping of an inner truth. You know what I mean?
Recognition.
Recognition is the exact word that he uses.
Yeah.
When you recognize another person, you also recognize yourself.
Yeah.
And that's the fundamental premise upon which dialectics is based, and why we should always think in opposites.
Yeah.
Because when it gets pushed to that absolute contradictory limit of everyone's staring at the naked king, the naked emperor, and then finally it tips over. It's not a mechanical process, it's a dialectical process. Once that happens, there's no ratcheting backwards, there's only ratcheting forwards. That's why we are, on this timeline of freedom, if you know what I mean. Or why I like that idea of evaluating it anyway. Hopefully that was, somewhat coherent.
It was coherent, yeah.
Oh, good.
I love Hegel. I haven't read any of them. But
I tried to read some Hegel, but the problem is when I often read in bed before bedtime.
Yeah.
And when I read really difficult theory texts, I get through about a page and a half and I get sleepy.
Yeah.
But then I have really cool dreams. About
definitely.
Theory dreams, man, that's jealous.
Definitely, yeah, for sure.
It's the main thing holding me back theoretically. I should start reading in the morning.
They do say the morning is when you should do all the sort of life-building stuff, like going for a walk and whatnot.
If you want to deal with a really big, difficult book like that, you need to set a plan and you need to have a reading schedule. I recommend spending about 3 months on the phenomenology of spirit. And the funnest part is self-consciousness. Once you get into the latest stages, it's pretty arcane. But once you've read consciousness, self-consciousness, and then reason, you kind of get what dialectics is about. Yeah, I think that it's a really good book.
So, in terms of just cutting back a little bit to this, the emperor with no clothes, and again, respecting our listeners' intelligence and recognizing that they all fucking know that, the appointment of this anti-Semitism envoy is a total naked emperor moment. Julian Segal, this person whose partner is a massive funder of Advance, the most hectic right wing lobby group? They're a lobby group in the country, and our supposedly like left of centre prime minister has just like given this person insane amounts of like power to dictate our,
We have proposed to give emergency powers to the Chancellor Palpatine, and everything's gonna be.
yeah.
Lisa the Gunga, this sort of stuff.
And I'm just kind of wondering, like this can't end well. Obviously, not well for the left when we have someone like this kind of dictating, our civil liberties, but also with even our centrist Labor Party. I can't see it working out well for them to hand all this power to this person.
Yeah.
And then now this like horrible tragedy has happened at Bondi, and this person, Julian Segal, is coming out and trying to manufacture political capital for the Zionist right out of this. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, our quote unquote, left of centre, social democratic leader is just standing back and just letting rip and letting it all play out. And I wonder, when the moment of kind of unmasking about this kind of insane theatre is going to happen.
It's got to happen at some point. I mean,
something will always happen next, and as sure as you can be fucking sure of that, something will always happen next, and frequently the opposite thing. You know what I mean? Like the thing that transmutes the meaning. It's not necessarily what it's made of or how it works. It's what it means. All of a sudden, this anti-Semitism envoy might mean something very silly. We could make a joke out of it. Say, what does this person actually do? Like, this sort of stuff.
it isn't 100% just a meme role. Like, just so easy to
be seen to be doing something. Yeah.
Yeah, and like so many things you could be doing if you really cared about anti-Semitism. And none of them are attacking the Palestine movement.
No, the entire job of the Prime Minister of Australia is to make sure the profit flows out of the country into the bank accounts that it needs to go into. And that's the sole purpose of the reason why this country exists, is to make the bank account go up.
I mean, I've heard smarter people than me say that the sole reason for the Labor Party to exist is to discipline the labour movement.
To make
Keep
sure
it
the
in
profit
place.
stays high. Yeah, no, definitely. It's the same with the Democratic Party. It's the same with the Labour Party in the UK, the Socialist Party in Spain.
Right.
All these parties serve the same function. Neoliberal, supposedly workers' parties. Or, maybe let's quote Lenin, capitalist workers' parties. Capitalists, workers can be a part of capitalism and can be, collaborate with bosses and this bullshit, and everyone gets a slice of the pie. No.
Yeah.
No, it's never been more of a lie.
Yeah, and I think once you lay bare that antagonism, is that they'll sell you out as soon as it's convenient. Like, it means, there's no point of collaborating or sucking up. Like, it's actually fundamental. It's like the material interest, right? The material interests are dialectically opposed. That's a contradiction that can't be resolved through compromise. And I think that's something that is really valuable to learn from Marxism, is like, it's not just like, I love the idea of a happy medium. I'm all for a happy medium. It just doesn't exist in this.
Well, it just depends where the medium is. Like for some reason, the Overton window thinks it's over near fascism. The medium's more closer to, sorry to use the bad language, the medium is much closer to socialism than people think it is.
Oh, what's that? Chekhov, was it? He's like, communism is the compromise.
I like that.
It's like I think compromise also is like the bare minimum. Something like that. It's like
I know.
Communism
Absolutely.
is the bare minimum, and it's like, it's great because it's such an outlandish thing to say. Like, it's like, what? Isn't that
in this context?
Isn't that the epitome of extremism?
Yeah.
But it's like, no, because we have to look after each other, and this is the only way to do it, to stop this environmental ravaging.
Absolutely,
It's the bare minimum.
The reason why we have the environmental ravaging, I'll quote Bookchin, oppression of nature comes from oppression of human over human. You solve one problem, you solve the other one. And it's the same thing with poverty, crime and antisocial behaviour, all caused by poverty. Extreme amounts of poverty,
What I was going to say was that I was trying to bring it back. I heard this interesting conversation about how, it's interesting to see after Bondi how there is a section of the kind of like liberal mainstream that is actually backpedaling a little bit on their previous, commitment to Palestine activism because of this fear of after Bondi, this fear that, they've sort of taken on this fear that they are somehow, for walking over Sydney Harbour Bridge, that they're somehow responsible for what happened at Bondi, which is absolute bullshit. Obviously, any thinking person can see that a fucking ISIS operative who for some reason was allowed like 6 shotguns or some shit after even being like tagged by ASIO like 10 years ago, that has anything to do with the Palestine movement. I mean, ISIS are enemies even of Hamas, like
you can't paint them all with the same brush.
Just because there's a movement that is associated with Islam, like to say that a movement that is in support of a Muslim majority country somehow is equated with this most like extreme nihilistic, like fucking cultish violence. It's fucking offensive, and it's ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
But I think there is this segment of, let's say the Labour voting Liberal left, the quote unquote left, that are in this state of like, oh no, like, we're paralyzed. We're paralyzed because we feel like, am I responsible? Do I have to, or was it I equated Zionism with imperialism? Am I somehow, like, because I criticize Israel, responsible for this? It's fucking absurd.
It does make it very difficult to talk about, I think.
It does, but not for us, because But I was thinking about how important it is at this time for really courageous and steadfast Jewish people with left-wing commitments to come out and say louder than ever that this is not this is not Palestine solidarity. This is something that we all reject, this kind of terroristic violence. And there's no better example of that than Jews for Palestine recently, who held a vigil just down here in Fremantle, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. I didn't go to this particular vigil, but I did see the photos and I heard about the reports back. It was amazing. There were armed police there, because it was specifically responding to the Bondi shooting. But I've been watching and participating alongside Jews for Palestine for some time now, and I've got to say it's one of the most gutsy outfits I've ever seen. Our comrade Janet Parker is an absolute genius for coming up with this idea. And I can't say that there's any better way to skewer the Zionists than through Jews for Palestine.
Yeah, it's got some barb to it, hasn't it? Like, just again, flipping the narrative of Judaism and having a particular religion or culture doesn't mean you have to support a genocide. Like, absolutely, you should speak out against it because they're doing something horrible in your name. Like, that's where the consent manufacturing comes in. It's like,
absolutely.
Oh, you're Jewish, you must obviously support this thing. And it's like, well, no, here's a staunch organisation that tells you the exact opposite, and that is it's killing the narrative, or at least it has the potential to.
No, definitely.
Yeah, and most recently that that you can be in solidarity with the victims of a horrible massacre.
Oh yeah.
While also remaining steadfastly opposed to the imperialist Israeli project, and those two things are not in contradiction.
No.
And I think this vigil was such a great example of Jewish community leading, putting this message forward that you can still be pro-Palestine and totally opposed to any kind of terroristic violence.
If you're being the devil's advocate, you can kind of almost see how, like, the argument that we're posing doesn't really have teeth unless you have a Jews for Palestine, because otherwise it's all theoretical.
Yeah, maybe in the media space, for sure. Yeah, like as a media narrative, it's very difficult for.
Like, there's no way to spin this, is what I'm saying.
It's definitely more difficult for the Palestine movement.
Okay, never say never. They can spin anything they want.
Look, I think we are so lucky to have people like Janet, a comrade of mine in Margaret River, so many Jews around this country, the Loud Jew Collective over East.
Yeah. That's an awesome name.
Jewish Council. Like who have really for couple of years now been just the leading lights of the movement here.
Well, you're a bit of a leading light of the movement. Down in Margs, aren't you? I look at all the photos of the rallies that you've been putting on or helping put on. They look incredible. I love that that's been happening in Margaret.
Yeah, that was definitely an inspiration.
You know, I didn't start that movement. I was just lucky to get invited along to join in early on. And there's a wonderful community of activists down in Margs. We're really lucky, and I think just a small slice of what we've got around this whole country, which you won't see in the mainstream media, which is just
there's pockets, isn't there?
Yeah, or just so many pockets everywhere, like of people, everyday people, working people who just have principled commitment to reject, this repeating of this like violent cycle that we all learn about at school. And I think that's not just on university campuses, that's everywhere. And I think often there's a lot of people who don't necessarily organise or always attend rallies because they're under the pump, like they're getting pummeled with their work, like their rent's getting more expensive.
That makes it really difficult to do
all the expenses for childcare, and who, I think, if, to go back to Lenin in this text we were reading, he talks about how, the at a certain point in the revolutionary cycle in Russia, there was these workers turning out and doing radical actions in cities like St. Peter's or Petrograd, but they were just a section of the people who agreed with them. There's a much bigger.
Exactly.
The people you see on the street, the people you see marching every week, are just a small sample of a much bigger population who absolutely agrees with those actions.
Definitely. I think around the time of the ceasefire, didn't we have about 15,000 people here in Perth? Like it was definitely over 10,000. And when you see like big swell episodes like that, you're like, fuck no, this is a movement. These people just can't turn out every time. And you do know that you have these broad layers of people to draw on. I think that's just such a beautiful thing.
Yeah, like the same in Marks, like a town of maybe somewhere between 10, 15,000 people. Like we, regularly have group of like 20 or 30 activists turn out for our Wednesday marches. But like when we've organised some bigger ones on the weekends, like 200-300 people, and that's
awesome.
Like those people who are not necessarily coming along every week.
Yeah, not everyone can commit everything.
Just especially when people's got kids, when they've got like really demanding jobs, like and lives, as well. Like it's just not easy for everybody to get along every week, but
it's really, really inspiring to hear that there's things like this going on around the country.
No, definitely, I've been watching it from afar. Margaret is a place I've spent quite a bit of time in. I've spent quite a bit of time down south, so it's really good to see that like our family is having an influence.
Yeah, but it's not just Margs either. There's smaller cities and towns all around the country. Even like Bunbury up the road from us, which probably for many people from WA they kind of associate with being a fairly conservative place. Like there's a crew there that were turning out like every week as well. Like it's and I'd love to see more, but really, like when you saw like over 30 different rallies all around the country for these National Days of Action, it just tells you that it's this narrative of like it's a bunch of latte sipping lefties hanging out in universities. It's total bullshit. Like
and I think it can be pretty easy to lose sight of that broader movement. And I think like changing the subject somewhat, I think that is something why the national conference that we're going to is really exciting, because Comrade Riley's always talking about how like the inner circle of committed activists is relatively small, Boogaloo, but we can't lose sight of the fact that we're part of a large organisation that has big structures and lots of members across the country and are working towards a common goal. Like that sort of isolation is very easy to counter when we have events like this where everyone gets together and talks about exciting topics.
We often feel like we've been Left in the West.
Oh.
Don't we? Yeah.
I'm gonna start singing that.
Yeah, we're gonna make a jingle.
Yeah, like if you could see the cogs in my brain for those last 5 seconds, like, what's the jingle? What's the jingle? What's the jingle? Can I produce it? Yes, I managed to produce it.
All right. Well, thanks for anyone who's listened the whole way through. We're still scratching it out here. Like none of us have ever done this before much, and we're
still in the baby phase.
Yeah. I've personally I listen to a lot of left-wing podcasts, but I've never put my hand in before. Be flattered if even like one person listens this whole way through.
Absolutely, it's the biggest compliment.
And as our gift to you, I think we can give you some calls to action, things you can do to be better at being left in the West. This
Socialist-Alliance.org/join. Have a think about it. It's up to you. And if you don't want to join, you can still sign a party registration form and help us to get
That is
online
the call
for
to action.
That's the call to
That
action
is
for
the call to
500. So grab a Green Left subscription, like to get the paper physically every 2 weeks. $10 a month.
So maybe
$10 a month. It's nothing. Short change. And you know what? It'll improve your mental health.
Yeah, maybe anything like this, as well as some links to some of the wonderful organisations our comrades are either leading or part of. We can put in
like we
the
do
show
with the
notes.
Substack post. We'll do the same thing of like a full article.
We could just put some links for people, things to check out. Is there we got any big rallies, vigils events coming up?
Invasion Day's coming up on the 26th.
Oh yes, very good.
Invasion Day's coming
Super
up.
important.
Yep.
Thank you.
Solidarity.
Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. 'Cause the union.
Well, they don't need to raid into some pure enlightened woke capital city greenies at this time.
I want to see house prices go up.
Woke capital city greenies.
I don't negotiate with the Greens.
Make Australia
Woke capital city greenies.
again.
Everyone's propaganda.